Good afternoon. How are y'all this evening? Welcome to the Monday, May 13th Board of Commissioners meeting. Call this meeting to order. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance by Vice Chairman Shores. Mr. Shores, would you lead us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Please bow your heads. Most heavenly gracious God, Lord, we just thank you for this day. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and do the business of this county. Lord, we just ask that you would go with us and guide us, be in everything we say and do. And Lord, give us the ability and the countenance to make the decisions that would be pleasing to you and that would further the goals of this county. Lord, we ask that you would go with our national leadership. God, we ask that you would just go with our state leadership. And Father, we ask again that you would go with us as we make each and every decision for this county. Father, these things we ask in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody will face the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Thomasville Mayor Pro Tem Scott Stiers. Is Scott in the audience? Hey, Scott, how are you? Glad to have you tonight, okay? Recognition of veterans, Mr. Shores.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we have any veterans with us tonight? If we have a veteran, would you please stand and be recognized? Any veterans? And have we... If we've not given you one of our pens, would you please come up and allow me to give you one of our pens? The Davidson County seal with veteran on it. We appreciate
Really nice.
our veterans.
Amen.
Yeah, glad to have you here tonight.
Good job, gentlemen.
Marine Corps here.
Survival. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Army.
Army.
Air Force.
Thank you. Thank
Wow.
Got them covered. There you go.
There we go.
Hey, you took care of us jarheads while we were in everywhere. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's a good turnout tonight for the
Amen.
veterans. Glad to see them. Dwight Carter. Is Dwight Carter here? Dwight, yep. Hey, Dwight. Tisha, you want to lead this off, please?
Good evening, Board. Thank you for having me here. I am Jill Simmerman Lawrence, the Deputy Director of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Aging. It's an honor to be here to recognize Reverend Dwight Carter. Carter, I'm so sorry.
Carter's right.
Reverend Dwight Carter as the 2023 Elizabeth Welch Award winner, which recognizes an older adult who has effectively advocated for the needs of other older adults. Dr. Elizabeth Welch served as chair of the psychology department at Salem College. At the age of 92, she was a congressionally appointed delegate to the 1995 White House Conference on Aging, where she was the only delegate from North Carolina to have a resolution passed by the conferees. Dr. Welch believed in the power laid at the feet of baby boomers to bring social justice for older adults, women, people of color, and other historically marginalized populations. Like the person for whom the award is named, Reverend Dwight Carter continues to serve by reinvesting his time to focus on the needs of older adults. He has led with unwavering dedication and commitment to the well-being of aging adults in Davidson County by serving in numerous advisory and advocacy capacities. Through his service on the Davidson County Department of Senior Services Advisory Board from 2013 to present and chair since 2020, Reverend Carter has advised the Director of Senior Services on multiple projects and initiatives. Other areas of service include the Davidson County Planning Committee for Aging Services, He served on that from 2011 to 2022 and was the chair from 21 to 22. He's also served on the North Carolina Senior Tar Heel Legislature, currently serving since 2013. He was the speaker of that legislature from 2018 to 2019. He's been a board member for the Life Center for Davidson County, member of the City of Lexington's Human Relations Committee, and 10-year coordinator for the Methodist Church Yadkin Valley's district's older adult program. As I read over his nominations, I loved how the people who nominated Reverend Kartner spoke about him. Mr. James Weichel noted that he was known for his service to others, not only in his public career as a teacher, pastor, and on various boards, but in, quote, in very quiet, unassuming activities only a few of us know about, end quote. Rathia Ford, the Senior Tar Heel Legislative Alternate Delegate and Davidson County Aging and Adult Services Planning Board member, noted that this summer his mobility issues couldn't even hold him down. Could not even, quote, curtail Reverend Kartner's service to humankind. He continued to give of his time and talents with advice by telephone or email, sending greeting cards of the season with words of support, and by staying connected and abreast of the work of the Senior Tar Heel legislative agenda. Would you come up here with me? On behalf of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Aging, I want to say thank you, Reverend Dwight Kartner, for all that you have done for older adults. Thank you for your service that you have given today and in the past, and all the ways that you'll speak for older adults in the future. We're so grateful to have you, and we're lucky that you're in service to our community.
Good.
Front to get a picture. Would y'all like to
He
do
might
that?
like to say something too.
Yeah.
Yes, you sure can.
Let's go down here.
I am too.
Man, put that much service in. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your service, sir.
Scared me up to death. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
You sure can't hold her breath, that.
One with fish in it too, that's the one with fish stuff.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3.
That's right.
I'd like to say a few words.
I'm gonna stand over here, I think my voice is loud enough. My wife said, that you can hear. I want to just thank Jill Simmerman, the Division of Aging Davidson Director, coming all the way after a hard day's work Monday from Raleigh to present the DAAS Elizabeth Welch Award, which I think is very significant due to the fact that she was for so long right here at Salem College next door. And of course, her family established this in their honor. Humbly, I want to accept this award on behalf of the 31,285 senior adults of Davidson County. The County Board of Commissioners that support us and are very active, 2 or 3 of them have been very active in seniors at some point of the time or other, Commissioner Walford and Commissioner McClure and Commissioner Shell. The Davidson County Senior Services for the Elderly, Tisha Everhart Roberts, and is our director, and has been for a good while. And to all of those, I have no earthly idea of where this got started, where the wheels started turning, but if you had any part to do in it whatsoever, I appreciate it more than you will ever know. And of course, Jill did allude to some. I hope I can get a copy of that. But we are humbled by the confidence that has been placed in each of us, and me particularly, as I have served both as chair of the planning and the advisory board, as well as being active on Piedmont Regional Council of Government, and appreciate their representatives being here tonight, as well as a lot of family and friends. I have served as a volunteer. I did not realize that until we had our volunteer appreciation banquet back on April the 18th, and was presented a 20-year certificate. I didn't know where the time had gone, but I blinked my eyes and here we are. But I have been serving in some capacity as a volunteer for the last 20 years. The privilege of serving as Speaker of the North Carolina Senior Tarrant Legislature was quite an exciting time. I didn't reach all my goals because I had wanted to go to all 100 counties, because each county has some form of senior services, but time just ran out before I was able to do that. Currently, I'm still the delegate for Davidson County with honor, and previously serving as chair of the planning committee for the county senior services, and currently the chairperson of the advisory board, which helps make policy. And we are proud of our senior services, and thanks to you commissioners that have had a vital part in making that possible. They took a lemon when a building was in trouble and made lemonade out of it, and now we have one of the nicest senior service facilities around in our Lexington area, a very nice, usable one in Thomasville, and a place in Denton. So, anywhere you go, you would have access to home-delivered meals or congregate meals or activities, legal aid, some other aids, and we have people in all situations. As a senior myself, even though I refuse to act like it or believe it, it's a pleasure to work with the seniors of Davidson County. Thank you, and God bless Davidson County and the senior citizens, and God bless America.
Amen. Mr. Chairman, if I could say just a word.
I'd like to.
Okay, go ahead. They leaving, but
Tisha, I'd like to make recognition. You know, the executive board, the advisory board, some of the things that they have produced for this county was recently part of our Meals on Wheels, who has found citizens in bad situations, even deadly situations. Recently, the gentleman that they recently found, and I just think it speaks greatly for our Senior Services Division.
okay.
Mr. Chair, I heard back from Commissioner McClure. He is ill and not going to be here this evening.
Okay. All right, I need motion to excuse Commissioner Mizell and Commissioner McClure.
So
please.
moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Mr.
Second,
Chairman.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Register for public address. Anybody wishing to speak later, register for public address, please. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda as read.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Ms. Tiller? If you would, speak your name and all of that good stuff for the microphone, please.
My name is Dina Tiller. I live in Lexington and am addressing the board in regards to the budget request being made by Dr. Slate in Davidson County Schools. I currently work at North Davidson High School as an exceptional children's and English teacher. Throughout my teaching career, I have worked in Davie and Rowan County, returning to Davidson County Schools in 2014 and North Davidson High School in 2016. At the time I worked in Davie County, their teaching supplement was less than ours. Now it is 2% more than ours. Both Davie and Rowan's teaching supplement is at 8%, while ours remains at 6.125%. Lexington City Schools and Thomasville City Schools also have higher supplements than we do, even though we are part of the same county. In the past, Davidson County Schools has been able to compete with the surrounding counties for qualified teachers. The supplements were not a major factor. That is no longer the case. Davidson County Schools has not had a supplement increase in many years. There are teachers who have been with Davidson County Schools for over 15 years and have indicated our supplement has been the same all of that time. Recently, I have watched coworkers take positions in nearby counties even when they liked their jobs with the school system. Increasing the county supplement would be a step in the right direction for Davidson County Schools to recruit and keep qualified teachers. Looking at your minutes from previous meetings, it is stated, and I quote, "The county's commitment to education is strong as proved by the last several years of per-pupil funding. Although the average daily membership has been decreasing over the last several years, the county has continued to provide increased levels of funding to ensure the best educational opportunities are available for every student in Davidson County," end quote. This starts with having qualified teachers and offering supplements that are comparable to nearby counties. Parents are pulling their children from schools and homeschooling them, enrolling them in private schools, or finding ways to have their children attend schools in other counties. Teachers who are nearing retirement are also leaving the county for higher supplements, so their highest 4 years are the best they can be for retirement. The cost of living has gone up tremendously, especially since COVID. However, our supplements have remained the same. No increase in teaching supplements for many, many years is hurting our school system greatly. I appreciate all of the growth Lexington is making. I am glad we are no longer 115 out of 115. I think we are now at the 110 in rank. I'm not going to pretend to know all the ins and outs of the budget, but it seems with over $92 million potentially being spent on a new detention center in Davidson County that the focus on education is not where it needs to be. Maybe if we focus more on education and what it takes to maintain qualified teachers and offer programs in our schools that meet the need for trade education as well as college, and we design programs that fit all students, college-bound and workforce-bound, we would not need a bigger detention center. I wholeheartedly hope you will consider the increase Dr. Slate is requesting to bring our supplement to a minimum of 7%, so myself, along with many excellent teachers, can start and continue our teaching careers with Davidson County Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tiller.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. I used to work with her.
All right. Melissa Hunter. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good.
My name is Melissa Hunter. I live in Linwood in Davidson County. I was coming here on behalf of me and some other people that couldn't make it. We were recently issued a 30-day compliance order from Davidson County Animal Control to remove some of our animals out of the county for something that we have in the past been in contact with, I want to say it was Officer Howe, that said as long as we were following our state laws and for our animals that we would be good in Davidson County. And I guess there was along the way some kind of miscommunication or something other than that, I don't know. But we would like to possibly get on the agenda to try to change some of those ordinances. We have been in contact with Officer Souls for Animal Control and have been working with her on all these issues because, you know, we've been doing this for 10 plus years and now it's kind of becoming a problem. I'm not really sure why, but it's for like exotic animals in Davidson County, certain ones. I guess there was complaints, not necessarily about us, but maybe other people in the county, and it kind of just filtered down to everybody. And so we would like to propose maybe getting some of those ordinances changed.
Casey, do you want to get her information and talk to her about it?
Provide your contact information to that gentleman right over there, and he can
Somebody will get with you.
running with you about some of the things you'd like to see.
See what you want.
It's a process to change ordinances.
We've been in contact with Officer Dr. Soul, and she's kind of told us some of the steps that we need to take.
Sure.
And she's willing to come with us to a meeting if we get it on the agenda, you know, to show that we're following all the state laws that we need to follow as far as the ordinance goes and everything like that.
Sure.
Okay. All right. We'll move on, to the third one, Jeanette Dickens.
867-9103. And you all have something at your place from her.
Yeah, I see it right here for the, book for birthdays. How are you doing tonight, ma'am?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name, of course, is Jeanette Dickens. I'm sorry, do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm the president of Books for Birthdays Incorporated. We are a 501c3 registered North Carolina nonprofit. And I wrote a letter earlier to the chairman of the committee, Mr. Yates, and I'm here to follow up on that letter. And I would like to explain Books for Birthdays' purpose. We are a nonprofit that gives, personalized books to children who are in foster care for their birthdays. And our contact person in your county, Davidson, is Ms. Robin Penninger. She is the permanency planning supervisor in this county, and we have been working with her for since 2019, except the time of the COVID stoppage, and we started back in 2022, and we have continued to provide new personalized books to children in foster care here from 2019 until the beginning of this year in the amount of 348 books for that time period. And we will request that you all would consider making a donation to our nonprofit to continue serving this county as well as we're serving Iredell County and Statesville. We originally moved from Iredell County where we began, and we're serving Iredell County, Davidson County. In 2022, we added Randolph County to serve those counties as well. So please consider our request for a donation to continue our serving children in foster care, because they are able to take their personalized books with them if they're transferred from one place to the other. Their books are engraved with their names in them, so they go along with the child wherever they go. And this increases their interest in reading and also in learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. All right, public hearings next. Text amendment to the zoning ordinance. Seven A.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam and fellow board members. I'd like to read the legal into the record and then give a description if the board will allow me. We have a request by J. Lamar 1 LLC to amend the Davidson County zoning ordinance, Article 7, Section 7.8 MM Truck Stop / Travel Plaza. Proposed amendments will decrease the minimum lot size from 20 acres to 7.5 acres, as well as increase the distance to the driveway access to the site from 700 feet to a full access interstate interchange right-of-way to 1,300 foot full access interstate interchange right-of-way. That was the initial request that J. Lamar, and that consists of Mr. Nick Patel. He's the proprietor for J. Lamar, and he's represented tonight by Mr. J. Wagner. That initial request, and stop me at any time, Mr. Chairman, if you want to open the public hearing, and I can go into detail about the process that we've gone through and how best to present this to the board.
Let's go ahead and open the public hearing. That way it'll be open, and
yeah.
I declare the public hearing open on this matter. So.
Okay.
There
All right.
you go.
Thank you, sir. But yeah, the initial request was to make two changes. If the board will remember, back in December of 2022, we adopted a truck stop / travel plaza use. That truck stop slash travel plaza use consisted, once adopted, of an approval process. It's called Special Use Permit Class A. It is the strictest, most scrutinizing process our ordinance offers for a use to come through the development process and then be awarded and placed on the on property in Davidson County. Please forgive me for reiterating some of these things. I know some of you will be hearing this information for maybe third, fourth, 12th, 20th time, who knows. But there's several ways to go through the zoning ordinance. If you'll please divert your attention to the overhead. This is a page out of the Davidson County zoning ordinance. I like to refer to this as kind of the backbone of the ordinance. You have a list of uses on the left-hand side. You've got your zoning districts to the top. If you see X's beside a specific use, that means that use is allowed by right. All you have to do is get your permits and you can place that specific use on property in Davidson County. If you see blanks beside a specific use, that means that use is simply not allowed in that district. You can't do that there. If you see D's in the blanks beside a specific use, that means those are development standards. There's a different section in the ordinance where staff has to look, or the applicant has to provide information that specific development standards dedicated to that specific use can be met. Those are quantitative. Those are things staff can measure, see, feel, touch. It's a yes or no answer. It's not subjective. Then the Class SB and the SA are special use processes. Class B it goes in front of our Board of Adjustment. Class A would come to the governing body. When we adopted the truck stop slash travel plaza use back in December of 22, the board decided to make this a Class A special use permit so that someone would have to come before this board. We defined the use. As, bear with me, please. A business that is open to the public and it serves commercial vehicles such as tractor trailers or other heavy trucks, included by selling fuel to such vehicles. Truck stops may provide repair and maintenance services, food and convenience items, sales, overnight vehicle accommodation, and other related services typically associated with such uses. A truck stop need not serve commercial vehicles exclusively and may also provide fuel sales and other services for passenger vehicles or other types of vehicles. A business that would otherwise meet this definition shall not be deemed a truck stop if it has no more than 2 diesel fuel pumps and no more than 5 overnight parking spaces large enough for tractor trailers or heavy use. So we were really kind of clean. We had a use in the ordinance called a service station. You could sell fuel, gas, diesel fuel. You could provide maintenance to a vehicle outside of the crank of the case of an engine or leaving the head on the car. Any other maintenance, tires, carburetors, anything external of that could be conducted at a service station. We saw a need for this, so we had workshops with the planning board, with this board. We came up with this process. Mr. Patel approached the department, it's probably been close to a year ago now, I think, and had a piece of property that was a decent location for a truck stop, but he couldn't meet several of the specific criteria. He couldn't meet the 20-acre minimum requirement, and he couldn't meet the 700 foot. With the way it's adopted now, the driveway has to be within 700 foot of an access interchange for an interstate. Couldn't meet those 2 items. So he through Jay Wagner, filed for an amendment to the zoning ordinance, which is allowed by any citizen of the county, and wanted to change those 2 things. When that went to the planning board process, the planning board felt like they needed to take the truck stop slash travel plaza single use and split it into 2 uses. That's what they wanted. That's what they wanted to do. The applicant seemed to be okay with that. So we conducted 2 workshops with the planning board to produce the document that was included in your packet. Instead of reading out all of these specifics, the dividing line now seems to be that for a travel plaza, you can conduct no maintenance on heavy vehicles. And the definition for travel plaza that the planning board passed wanted to not have any large-scale washing facilities, you know, road tractor truck washing facilities. They wanted to also change the process of approval. They wanted to take that specific use out of the special use class A and make it a development standard, so that it'd be something that staff could, at the office level, review and be able to approve. If you'll please divert your attention back up here, this is the document that we included in your packet is the way the planning board voted on this item. So travel plaza would be allowed by development standards in highway commercial, limited industrial, and heavy industrial, all with development standards. The truck stop basically stayed the same. The only thing we edited out of truck stop was the word travel plaza. So all of those conditions, the same process, special use class A, 20 acres, fencing, screening, you know, lighting requirements, that all stays the same for a truck stop. What the board wanted to do with development standards, there's a list of 14 development standards here. They wanted to reduce the acreage down to 10 acres. They took in the definition, they wanted to take the number of parking spaces and the number of diesel fuel pumps out of the definition so that could be anything. And then if the board has any questions, they did also increase the driveway access to 1320. That's a weird number, but that's a quarter of a mile from a full access interchange. So it went from 700 feet to 1,320 foot that's how close the driveway has to be for a travel plaza facility. And you can see it's got some of the same language that the truck stop has in it, DOT driveway permit, traffic impact analysis. It does speak to landscaping for a overnight truck parking. You would be required to have 100 foot of vegetative buffer as close as possible to the noise source as you can between the parking area and any adjacent residentially zoned property. So we were curious at the onset of this as to what do these facilities utilize? How much land do they use? So we started looking around, you know, for the 20-acre truck stop or the 10-acre travel plaza, and some very interesting findings. I mean, everybody's heard of Buc-ee's, right? But Buc-ee's they've got the Guinness Book of World Record now for the largest service station in Sevierville, Tennessee. It's a 193-acre tract. They're not utilizing the whole tract. They've got 600 parking spaces and 120 gas pumps. It's 74,000 square foot building. I think the town council for Mebane just approved a Buc-ee's on a 32-acre tract down there that's going to be close to that same size. Buc-ee's is not what this would be. They don't accommodate trucks. There's no overnight parking, so they don't allow neither passenger vehicle or commercial vehicle to stay overnight. Gotcha. So it's basically a big retail store. What this definition somewhat envisions, this is a 7-Eleven. The airport access is right here, Davidson County Airport. This is that new 7-Eleven that's out there on Hargrave Street. Mm-hmm. This is kind of a hybrid of what we're starting to see with some accommodations, DEF fuel, you know, DEF tanks, some larger high volume diesel pumps. And I don't know that there's any truck parking with this facility, but this is on 5.35 acres. This is on this is Pilot Travel Center and Love's. This is Pilot here, and this is Love's. There's 10 acres associated with this facility. There's 8.74 associated with this facility. Now, this facility has a maintenance component to it. So this would be, if let's say hypothetically, what's proposed is adopted, this would still be called a truck stop by our rules. Where this facility up here would be a travel plaza because there's no maintenance facility associated with it. This is the Exxon off of Long Ferry Road. As you can see, it's a little over 4 acres, but you've got some truck parking, you've got large commercial vehicle fuel island, you've got your normal fuel island and the convenience store. This is the this is the Flying J truck stop up off of 89 and 77. This does have a 20-acre lot, but it doesn't utilize the entire lot. There is a Brittle's garage is right here, so this would still be a truck stop. It's got a maintenance component with it, but it also has overnight parking. This is out on Moxville Highway. This is a Love's, and it also has a maintenance component with it here. Whoops, fuel island, the whole, and the regular island. And this is the
How many acres were that?
Pardon?
How many acres?
They're on 20 acres, and they're probably using about 14 to 15 of it, Commissioner Shell. And this is the Buc-ee's in Sevierville. It's 193 acres. It's so new they don't even have aerials for it yet. I did that just so that the board would have an idea of kind of what these facilities utilize and how much acreage they utilize. And I don't want to take up all the time talking. I know Mr. Wagner is here. Does anyone have any questions about the process or what's being proposed?
Where is this located at?
Well,
the
the specific property that Mr. Patel's looking at is at the corner of 150 and 85. It's kind of in behind the Dollar General. Yeah, the Lakeview area out there. Yeah, and that's where the entrance would be there at Dollar General. Now, this would be an ordinance amendment, so it would be valid everywhere. So if the change takes place, truck stop / travel plaza turns into 2 uses. It goes from 20 acres down to 10 acres, and we still have that division.
Truck stop, he'd have maintenance.
Truck stop would need to have maintenance, yes, sir.
So what is it you're asking us to change now? You went through a lot.
I did, yes, sir.
So what is it? I get it, the 10 acres plus is a truck stop.
The proposal tonight that came from the planning board is to split truck stop / travel plaza into 2 separate uses, change the approval process for travel plaza to a development standard approval process.
Can you go back, Debbie, to that screen,
I got
whoever's in charge of that, because it's right here. So you want to go back to a D on that, correct?
That is accurate, yes, sir. And to get this D, the applicant would have to submit all 14 of these features that are in the development standards section of the ordinance to staff before we could issue a zoning compliance. So they'd have to prove that they could meet all 14 of these before we would do that. Now, it's up to the board's discretion to this is the recommendation from planning board. If the board's not comfortable with this, we can, have workshops, we can talk about it, we can do whatever we need to do. But that's, this is what came out of the 2 meetings. This is what came out of the 2 meetings from the planning board.
Thought our new county attorney was playing music.
He done went to sleep on us, so
That's Clark Road, right? Clark Road? Is that what that is, Clark Road out there?
Well, it would actually, this facility would be off of Old Salisbury Road, Mr. Patel's.
Okay, after you make
He actually has to access by Dollar General.
But this is changing the ordinance for everybody.
For everybody, yes, sir.
So I'd kind of like to take a little time to study this one myself. I mean, this is a lot of information.
Yep.
And I didn't have time to study.
Absolutely, yeah.
This far.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, though, I do have a question. The new 7-Eleven that you're speaking of, I could be wrong, but it looks like that there's truck parking in the back there.
There could be, yes.
So is that gonna fall into one of these?
That's inside the city, so that's a different approval process than what we're talking about.
Right, that side of the road is in the city.
I just wanted to give that as an example of something, the acreage size and what these facilities are utilizing.
So now I'm getting it now. I'm getting a little off topic here, but Mr. Patel, I guess one of the reasons he would like to change this is the distance off the interstate, is that?
He cannot meet the distance off the interstate requirement, and he doesn't have 20 acres. I think he's got, Mr. Patel has 10 acres, I believe is 11, okay, I'm sorry, 11 acres.
Okay.
So he wanted to be able to apply for, and that, the initial application was just to leave everything the same and just change those two criteria. And then we went into the workshops with the planning board because they felt like there was a need for you know, heavy maintenance truck facilities being separated from these hybrids that we're seeing now. The big item seems to be the overnight parking. The overnight parking is something that can be, you know, somewhat intrusive because you've got, especially when you're adjacent to residential areas, because you got folks that drive, that run their trucks all night.
That's what bothered me a little bit. I want to look at that one. I mean,
yeah, you got refrigerated units that you know, run their vehicles all night. Some facilities up north have, you know, you can eco trucks where they have a little small generator that runs the comfort facilities for wintertime heat or summertime cooling. But most places, the truck will idle just about all night.
So if you could email us, I know we got it in the agenda, but if you could email us all the amendments that you won't change there, and we can look over it. I see the 14 different ones. Some of those DOT, they got to apply for that anyhow. But
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring it up at the next meeting and we'll decide.
That'd be fine.
What we want to do.
I know Mr. Wagner and Mr. Patel are here. I don't know if you want to give them a chance to.
Is there a push on their part for, I mean, is time?
I would defer to them. Sure, okay. Yeah, Mr. Wagner says he'd be glad to address that.
Yeah, come on up if you'd like. Now, I know we discussed another piece of property the other day for Mr. Patel out on 85, at 64. Is this a different location here then that we're discussing now?
Well, what we're discussing right here is
the ordinance. I get it, but I'm just saying, is this another?
It would be a different location.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't even know if it's the same Patel or not, but I remember that name. So
that too would fall into potentially this new use, and it wouldn't meet it.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
Glad to be here tonight and see y'all. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I am Jay Wagner, Fisher Wagner Law Firm in High Point, representing Nick Patel, J-Lamart 1 LLC. Give you a little bit more of the history of kind of why we're here. This actually started with gas pumps.
Yes.
I think was the main issue. Could you maybe go back to the definition of truck stop in there?
Yes, sir. Whoops.
Next one up, yep.
Yeah, so if you look at the bottom of that definition of truck stop, it talks about that it's not deemed a truck stop if it has no more than 2 diesel fuel pumps and no more than 5 overnight parking spaces. So essentially what brought this on was a couple of things. The one being the diesel fuel pumps and overnight parking spaces. You can have one or the other, but you can't have both. So you can have 2 diesel pumps, 2 diesel fuel pumps, and you can have, I think under your service station ordinance, you can have as many overnight spaces as you want. Or you can have...
No, you can't. You can
have less than 5, but more diesel pumps or whatever.
Service stations don't allow overnight parking at all.
That's right.
But once it rises to this level, then it switches currently to truck stops.
If you want overnight parking, you can only have 2 pumps, right?
Correct.
So if you don't do overnight parking, you can have as many pumps as you want. So that's kind of what got us here. This is kind of like there's a missing segment essentially in your zoning ordinance and I want to start too by commending your staff and your planning board because they really worked hard to create this, and they created something that I think is going to, even though my client's property doesn't have any residential around it, they were very concerned with the potential impact on residential because this is a text amendment that will affect the whole county. And I think they worked really hard and came up with something really good. But what got us here was that he's essentially doing I like to call it like a Sheets on steroids, okay? So it's something where you could have a stop where somebody coming off the highway, not necessarily a long-haul trucker, but somebody traveling can come off the highway, they can get gas, there'll be a restaurant and coffee shop there if they want to go in and eat and maybe get a cup of coffee. But yet, if you're driving a truck, if you don't need maintenance, you don't need an oil change, you don't need your tires changed or anything like that, it's a place where you can come, you can buy fuel, you can park overnight if you want. It'll have the truck-sized diesel pumps, okay, as opposed to your car-sized diesel pumps like you'd have at a standard gas station. So there was kind of a missing segment there between what is considered a gas station or service station and a full-size truck stop. So he's not looking at providing any kind of maintenance, anything that would be loud that might cause a disturbance to adjacent residential. So we're able to take that out, and this is what what your staff and your planning board has come up with, and we're certainly in support of it. The issue of the 700 versus the 1320, his piece of property is a little quirky in that it's got an electric easement, a high voltage wire easement going across it, and so DOT will essentially not grant a driveway permit in that easement. They can't do it. So his property off of 150, people will actually come off of the interstate, go up 150 a little way, go on to Old Salisbury Road, and then there's a Dollar General or Dollar Tree or something there. Dollar General there, and he's already obtained an easement to be able to go across their property to access his. So it'll actually be going from a side street instead of 150, which the DOT likes better anyway, because then you don't have your access point on a highway, you have it on a side street. So the 1320 would just get us to where he can access his property, and future users, within a quarter mile of an interstate, there's typically not a whole lot of residential property to begin with. So your staff and your planning board felt like that was a good compromise. The 20-acre minimum that you have for a truck stop, they're asking now to take that down to 10. We feel that that's without the maintenance facilities, as you saw in some of those photos. You really don't need 20 acres to do what he's trying to do. We feel like that the staff has created something that's very business friendly, that's going to allow a new type of use that's popping up around the country to be available to people driving through Davidson County. My client's property is actually near to your business park, so it's going to provide a place for trucks to stop, and that'll be convenient for them to fuel up, and it'll provide some services in that area that aren't currently available. We feel like we have no problem with any of the 14, have no problem with the definition that they've created for a travel plaza, or any of the 14 criteria that they've created for the granting of the permit. This is really a question of impact. What impact is it going to have, especially on residential? And again, even though my client his property doesn't abut any residential and will not be subject to some of these requirements, we feel like they've created something that's really good and is going to protect residential property in your county. Some of these are, especially the landscape plan, the traffic impact analysis is pretty standard for something like this. It has a 350-foot minimum distance from any overnight parking to a residentially zoned property, and within that 300 feet, the first 100 feet has to be a vegetative buffer that's pretty thick. So the research, I think, has shown, someone on your planning board had done some research on it, and if you put the buffer closest to the noise source, it actually protects from the noise than if you put it out on the property edge. So that's within the first 100 feet from the noise source, within that 350-foot buffer, that would help to buffer that noise. It has good setbacks. Any outdoor lighting has to be directed down and has to be shielded so that you won't get any light pollution over into adjacent uses. It's going to have security fencing. There will be, screening. This vegetative screening has to have a minimum height of 20 feet at maturity, and it has to be a continuous opaque hedgerow to a height of at least 20 feet, which we think will protect adjacent residential property. It has to be maintained, the fencing and the vegetation, the driveway access is in there, and any fuel island has to have proper stacking to make sure that cars are not getting out into the street. So, you know, again, I think we really commend your staff and your planning board for creating this. I think they've done a good job of creating a new classification that maybe your ordinance, there was a gray area in your ordinance. And what Mr. Patel is trying to do is not unlike a lot of the things that your staff has shown you. This is a new type of development that's going around and being created in the county or in the country. And we'd like to be able to bring it to Davidson County and help improve your economy, provide some services in that area that are needed. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Mr. Patel's also here if you have any questions about it. But we would urge you to approve what your staff and your planning board has created, and then we'll be back for a rezoning. We'll be back to see you after that. But if there are no questions, I'll be here in case you think of something. Let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I got a question, Lee.
Yes, sir.
You know,
I don't think there's any huge rush on time. If you're not willing to make a decision, not ready to make a decision tonight, I think that's fine. Of course, you know, I don't want to draw it out forever, but we're certainly willing to work with you. Planning board, we were pretty patient with them. I'm sure we'll be patient with you.
Okay, thank you. One of the issues here, the 1,350 feet, can we not do a variance, leave that the same, and just do a variance on project by project basis? I mean, I'm a little weary of opening something up to 1,350 feet just everywhere.
But because of the approval process, it being a special use Class A, those specific standards are beyond the capability of being a variance requested. Now, development standards you can ask for variances on development standards, but because special use Class A's or B's are quasi-judicial in nature and they're subjective general standards or findings of fact, the specific standards are deemed untouchable by variance. So that was not an option for us. Okay. So we looked at that.
Would we have to do another public hearing if we, does this satisfy our public hearing needs for tonight if we postpone this to an informational meeting?
We are properly noticed for any action tonight. If the board wants to continue this to a date and time certain, we can do that without further advertisement.
Okay, now what I would like to do, if the board's okay with it, is put this on an informational meeting so we can kind of all hash it out.
Yes.
And hopefully we can get it on there the first of next month, and yeah.
Okay.
That way we can settle it that day, hopefully, or at least put it on the consent agenda. Is that okay with the rest of the board? Yeah.
I'll get a fresh set of documents to Ms. Harris so she can get those out to you guys.
We'll do it the first informational meeting next month. And is anybody in the audience wanting to speak in favor or against this ordinance?
I'd like to make one
I need to check the clip, change it, and then Yes, sir.
When we come back at the informational meeting,
Yes, sir.
Is there not a need to do this for future perspectives?
Well, there's probably a need for it, Commissioner Shell. The question is, where's the line at?
Right.
That's kind of what we need to I think it's a very prudent step to take a look at this and the board be comfortable with what's being proposed. You gotta feel comfortable with where the line's at, because with as much industrial recruitment as we're doing, we've got a lot more industrial property than we've had in the past. We need to make sure we can accommodate for those uses, but we don't want to open up, ourselves to something that would not be desirable.
I think that's something we need to discuss on at the informational meeting, but I'm just thinking about the surrounding area. You got the park, you got the industrial, the I-85 corporate center out there, you got a campground out there.
Yes.
This might be something that would work real well out there, but if it were
somewhere else.
Yeah. if it was
That's what I'm
somewhere-
saying, there's the problem, so.
Yes.
Okay, so anybody else want to speak in favor or against this, ordinance? Hearing none, I close the public hearing. We will,
Motion and a second to continue.
motion and a second to
Continue.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is moved to the June sixth meeting, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
And Jay, that's it, Jay. Make sure you know that's 8 o'clock.
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Thank y'all.
Items for consent. Anybody want to remove anything on the consent agenda? Any changes to the consent agenda?
Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I'm making a motion that we approve them as is.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Okay, 9A, proclamation, mental health. Mr. Shores, you got that one?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Proclamation Mental Health Month 2024. Whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and whereas the mental health and well-being of our community members, especially our youth, are paramount to the vitality and resilience of Davidson County and its municipalities, and whereas mental health is an integral component of overall health and wellness, and access to comprehensive mental health resources and support services is essential for all individuals to thrive. And whereas, with effective treatment, those individuals with mental health and other chronic health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. Whereas stigma and discrimination surrounding mental health concerns often prevent individuals from seeking the help and support they need, perpetuating cycles of suffering and isolation. And whereas, by coming together as a community, we can break down barriers, foster empathy, and create a culture of understanding, compassion, and acceptance for those experiencing mental health challenges. And whereas, there is a strong research that animal companionship, humor, spirituality, religion, recreation, social connections, and work-life balance can help all Americans protect their health and well-being. Whereas May is recognized nationally as Mental Health Awareness Month, providing an opportunity to raise awareness, combat stigma, and promote mental health resources. And this year's theme for Mental Health Month is movement, moving more for our mental health. Now, therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May as Mental Health Month in Davidson County and calls upon all residents to join us in our commitment to prioritize mental health and well-being to ourselves, our families, and our community, and urge individuals to educate themselves and others about mental health and the importance of seeking help when needed. Foster supportive and inclusive environments where individuals feel safe to share their experiences and seek support without fear of judgment or stigma. Advocate for policies and initiatives that promote mental health awareness, access to care, and suicide prevention efforts. Encourage open and honest conversations about mental health, reducing the silence and shame that often surround these issues. Access available mental health resources and support services, and encourage others to do the same. Further, we call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Davidson County to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health. The steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Together, let us work tirelessly to create a community where mental health is valued, prioritized, and supported, and where every individual feels empowered to live their lives to the fullest. Adopted this 13th day of May, 2024. And with that, Mr. Chairman, is my motion.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That was a good, long proclamation.
I'm quite sure that's why you made sure I got it, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody want to come up and receive this proclamation?
I know
Anybody?
we've got folks from the ARC, we've got folks from RHA, from Daymark, from Davidson Medical Ministries, Contegra.
Y'all been here all night, come on up. I
Man,
mean,
might as
don't.
Miss Kathy Browder with
Stand up here and get a
NAMI.
picture there.
Is the person that's spearheading getting this back on our agenda. And got all these folks,
Come on, get a-
here.
And,
Get a picture, we'll let you speak in just a minute.
Shantae Lewis, yes.
Shantae Lewis, so the people that are here with us are Shantae Lewis from Davidson Medical Ministries, Marty Webb from RHA Health Services, Heather Hedrick and Cheryl Softpaw with Daymark Recovery, Teresa McKeon with ARC of Davidson County, Chris Gillespie of Family Services Davidson County, and Kathy and Joe Browder from NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Good job, y'all.
Thank you.
Where's Marty West? Where's Marty West? There you go. She's hiding.
Y'all go on up, because there's a
Come on up. She was hiding. Good to see you, Marty.
I'm going to, I will.
Y'all center up over here so we can, James, you can't stand in the middle, you block us all out.
Get to the side.
You gotta get on the side or something.
He gonna have to take a knee.
Just squat down a little bit there.
All right, man, you can sit down.
Wait a minute. There we go.
I turned sideways, you should be able to do it.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3.
Good job.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you very much. Thank
y'all
y'all,
for
thank
coming.
y'all. Thank you. Yep, you're welcome. Thank y'all. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
You.
Yeah, thank you. I don't guess we can talk y'all into staying, huh? All right, proclamation, Mr. Elliott, the next one's yours.
Mr. Chairman, I want to tell you it's an honor for you to give me the opportunity to read this on behalf of my son and the other commissioners here, the honorable commissioners. I appreciate this opportunity. Proclamation for Williams Syndrome's Awareness Month. Whereas Williams Syndrome's is a rare genetic condition that is present at birth. It affects as many as 30,000 individuals in the United States, and is characterized by medical and cognitive problems, including cardiovascular disease, developmental delays, and learning disabilities. And whereas the Williams Syndrome Association, founded in 1982, is a nonprofit organization and the most comprehensive resource for people and families living with Williams syndromes, and as well for doctors, researchers, and educators. Through its efforts from raising public awareness to funding critical new research and providing valuable information and support to families, the WSA has improved the quality of life and futures of those affected by Williams syndromes. And whereas to generate awareness about Williams syndromes and raise funding for critical WSA programs and initiatives, the WSA has organized May as Williams Syndromes Awareness Month, which includes events all across the United States. And whereas the Williams Syndrome Association and families and friends of those with Williams syndrome should be commended for their hard work, compassion, and courage in educating the country about this rare disorder. Excuse me. Now, therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May 2024 as Williams Syndrome's Awareness Month in Davidson County, adopted this 13th day of May 2024. And Mr. Chairman, I render that as my motion.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, that motion passes. You want to get a picture up front?
No,
No?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Next is further discussion on, request to expand Project Crave at the courthouse.
Mr. Chairman, Major Louis and Judge Hamilton's here, but I think I can help walk the board through what we've got here, because we've learned a little bit more about this since, April 22nd meeting. So let me tell you what I know, and then if you want to talk to them any further about this system, you can. At the 22nd meeting, the board wanted a little more research on this as far as the cost goes. See, I think Tim's done a great job here inside this item of kind of outlining what's going on. What you've got right now are estimates for this cost for upfitting 2 more courtrooms in addition to the ones we've already done. And this is their virtual court interface system that they can use to talk to folks. Basically have virtual courts. So that estimated cost is just under $230,000, and you can see that table breaks it down pretty nice. So you've got the equipment and the installation, you've got cabling, and then you actually got annual fees, best we can tell, built in there that will carry on in year 2 and beyond. I just did one more year past that. You have 2 MOAs in front of you this evening, and one simply asks you to sign and then receive what they call a site visit. We do have to pay for the site visit from the E-Plus folks. That's AOC's contractor for this service. They come in and they're going to shore up this cost to make sure it's $229 and not $259 or $249, or it could be $219. In the meantime, Dwayne's folks is working on trying to maybe find some local folks for the cabling piece, because you can see what that adds up to times 2 courtrooms. The cabling MOA, I do not want permission to sign this in, because once you sign that, the whole thing's in motion. That's right. So if permission of the board is, if this is a project that we want to see continue to move forward, all we're asking for tonight, Mr. Chairman, is to go ahead and sign the MOA for the $3,500 site visit piece to bring back to the board. This is what we think the real cost will be, and at that point we'll have a little bit more firmer numbers on maybe we can do locally on the cabling, or we want to go with them to use their contractor. So that's all we're doing for this evening.
So is the ongoing cost $10,280 a year? Is that what I'm reading?
That is what we see inside the quote, the estimated quote, as basically maintenance fees.
Right.
Have you any idea what the longevity of this program is? I mean,
I would need help from.
In 2 years
That would I need help from those 2 folks on.
Not working anymore?
I think the systems they've got up there now, from what I understand from Judge Hamilton, they work pretty well and hadn't had any issues with them. The state paid for those, you remember. They're not going to pay for these. So if we want to expand the system, this is the only route to go.
Who does the study? Who does the study?
They will come in. AOC sends this E-Plus folks. That's their contractor. They come in and do the site visit and tell you, okay, based on what we see here, our $229 quote, maybe it's $219.
Have we got any other, AOC, I don't trust AOC to put my dog to sleep. And most of these court personnel feels the same way. They mess up everything they touch. Have we looked to see if there's another option or somebody else doing that study?
I'll turn that over to Major Louis.
See, they've already done 2 at the courthouse already.
I'm pretty sure this is proprietary to them.
Yeah, it is.
I'll let Major Louis jump in.
I can't speak to if there's another business that's out there installing this type of software, Commissioner. I do know the facility that I visited down in Cabarrus County, they've got Crave system in every courtroom. Judge McGee was a big advocate for this system because of the success they were seeing. So he took it upon himself to reach out to the other agencies, invite everyone down to Cabarrus County to come down and look at the Crave system and show the cost savings that they have received as a result of having this Crave system in every courtroom. It was very beneficial from what I'd seen. I found that link and I sent it to Casey, and hopefully you've had a chance to review that. And it was an article that the local news media done on that down there. It was very impressive. I wanted to give it some more time, because it was still new, and this was launched as a result of COVID. Because I'm like you, I'm a little skeptical of technology. I want to see if people can get the bugs worked out and everything. So I waited a little while, and was just monitoring it. And just quickly, I'm giving you a rundown on this. Judge Hamilton shared with me her desire to want to go virtual with the hearings in the court. Makes it safer in the courtrooms, and I would agree with that, especially with some of the disruptions in the courtrooms throughout the nation we've seen, and they're only intensifying. So I think it's only smart to try to go virtual if we can go virtual. Our in-house system now allows us to do that. But the problem with the in-house system is it's one way. So if one courtroom has it, another courtroom can't use it until that courtroom releases it. We have had some problems with that particular system, but with the two CRAVE systems that's in the courthouse now, we have not had any issues with those CRAVE systems. I haven't heard of any issues, not say there's not been any issues, but I have not personally heard of any issues from any of the other counties, and especially Cabarrus County. Speaking to Lieutenant Lister down in Cabarrus County with the jail, he says it's a lifesaver.
That's AOC.
That is correct, yes. And Commissioner, they use the WebEx software is my understanding, and I think that's where some of these fees, from what I had learned reading this, I think it was sent out by Dwayne from Randall Burchett, I believe, with AOC. It's when I learned about the fees as well, and I'm assuming we're accruing those because of the WebEx software.
I got a question for Judge Hamilton, please. And you make a fair question there, Commissioner Shell. Do you see AOC going away from this system in the future? I mean, he is right. If we spend $200,000 or $300,000 and we don't spend a couple $100,000, do you see them doing away with this CRAVE system?
I cannot answer that question. I will tell you that I've not seen anything that indicates we're moving away from it. It's still a relatively new system, so the state paid to install the first two systems that are in our courthouse, and that was back 2020 to 2021. So we're just now beginning to see it in wider use in more counties and in the Division of Adult Corrections, so the prison system as well. So I can't say, Commissioner Yates, that in years to come there won't be a new, better system that'll come along and take this one's place. In fact, it would probably be silly for me not to recognize that in all likelihood in years to come there will be a better system, but this is the one we're using now and for the foreseeable future.
You don't see it going anywhere?
I don't see it going anywhere.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Major Louis, Judge, you said it's WebEx. My whole thing is when we used WebEx to talk to the masters, it was absolutely atrocious. So, and I hear you saying that everybody you've talked to said it's good. I'm assuming they've done something to better that, because, I mean, I'm sure and Judge, I'm sure you are too, aware of anyway, you know what I'm trying to say.
I understand, Commissioner, and I've experienced the same problems, and I was very reluctant when I heard, WebEx was involved with this, and I was concerned, as I said. But from what I have seen, and some of the issues that I've seen with WebEx is reverb, echo, signal being lost, and it's just the connection issues and stuff. But with this particular system, I think since it's hardwired, everything's in-house, I'm not hearing of any issues with the CRAVE system we've experienced in the past with our own personal laptops with logging on to the actual software.
Okay. So we're using it now and it's working good.
So, Chairman, just to catch you up on
I get that part, but I'm saying, are we using it now?
We're using it in juvenile court and involuntary commitment hearings. So I'm not using it because it's not in one of my courtrooms where I hold court. But I've been in other counties' courtrooms that are using it. And Major Louis is absolutely right. When you're using the laptop computers and trying to do WebEx and all 40 people have a different laptop, you get some of that reverb, and we've worked out some of those kinks, but the Crave system it's not utilized the same way, so we don't have those same problems.
Now, I'll get you on the WebEx thing because I've used it in my office. I get you, so. Say something else you wanted to tell me on.
Just one other question, and it's probably to Casey. This 10-280, I'm assuming that's to WebEx every year?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I did some study up on this, and I was kind of concerned, like, just the vitality of it. So, the Department of Adult Correction has put a ton of money into this, setting up systems throughout the whole state of North Carolina. So it kind of helped me, but by seeing the investment that the state's putting in all of our correctional facilities, and then pushing it out from, this is their system, that's what they're using, and then they're trying to get all the local, partners to come in on it. But that's from what I see, that's what they're using, and they're planning on using that for a pretty good time.
The bad thing about it is I've seen the state plan systems before, and spend millions and millions, and it go the other way.
That was my point.
I have seen some of the software that AOC uses, and it's very antiquated. So it tells me that, whatever they implement, they hold on to it for a while before they change it. So I can see this system being around for a while, but I would agree with Judge Hamilton. I can't say that they're not going to try to come up with a better system in the future. They always do.
I'm good with a better system, just so we don't have to throw away everything we just bought,
Sure. I was very reluctant at first, but I was hesitant about bringing it to the commissioners, but I really feel like it's going to be a benefit, and I appreciate y'all considering it.
Amen.
I think it's a money saver for the county. I do, just in travel back and forth on the hearings. If we can cut out most of the travel back and forth on the hearings, so and no doubt we're not moving more to a video type civilization that we live in, whatever.
We've thought about this for years. Why can we not have this type of system? And one of the issues that we had seen and was raised is having a secure network that no one can tap into, because obviously confidential issues and things of that nature. But anyways.
And just so the public knows, this is just for hearing, not for trials. This is just for hearings.
That's right.
I want to make sure the public understands that that's watching. All right, any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second? Motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Approve the MOA for the visit.
Dwayne's got the funds here at year-end to handle it, so we just want approval to sign this first MOU, get them to come in and tell us what the real cost is gonna be, and by then we'll have a better handle on the cabling, and then we'll know is $229 the real number.
But I'm okay if we go to here. If this is what it is.
Yeah.
But I would approve up to this. And
that's what I'm saying. If they come in and they come back with, well, guess what? We found something in your courtroom, Bill. It's $249 or $259. We're going to be back to you all for the money anyway. But at that time, we owe you an explanation of, guess what? It's $259, and here's why.
That's right.
So the motion's to approve up to $229,362.
Well, no, just to do the MOU and that.
But I'm saying let's go ahead and do the money, and then if it comes in less than that, that's fine.
Yeah.
And if you got to come back for more, then that's okay too.
Well, we can do it that way. We can go ahead and budget $229,362.
Streamlines the process.
Right, just try to streamline it on through, and we've talked a bit about this 3 or 4 times.
And there may be, the MOU for the cabling piece, if we end up using their contractor, that's something that'll probably end up being on a future agenda to get signed. But if we find a local option, obviously we don't need them.
I talked to the local people before, and they felt like this, whatever the number was, and you got 8,000 here, they didn't think they could do it much cheaper than that, That's what I heard last time when we done the other 2 courtrooms.
If I may comment on something real quick, I know when AOC installed the 2 systems that's there now, when they turned it on, it worked with no issues.
Well,
and I'm not saying that we would have
another
issues,
issue.
but if we have someone else run the cable and AOC installs the software and the cameras, it doesn't work, then
you got people
say,
pointing fingers.
what's the person that pulled the cable in? That's correct.
So I just about as soon just stick with this right here, as long as they can get it done for this.
Let's do it this way then. So let's kind of reverse this. Let's go budget the 229,362. Tim, you picking it, you hear me? And give us the freedom after the site visit to sign both MOUs should it stay at 229,362 or less.
10-4.
That way we're ready to go.
Right.
We're not holding nothing up and we're gone.
That is my motion.
If it's 259, we'll be back to the board and say, guess what? It all fell apart and we gotta have a talk.
All right. So are y'all clear on the motion?
Second.
To approve up to the 229,362, and if,
Sign the first MOU, send it off, get them to come, hold the second one until they give us the cost, and then if it's clean, we'll go.
Yes.
yeah, okay.
Yep, okay. Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank y'all, appreciate it.
Dwayne, you got all that too?
Y'all have a good
All
night.
right, so make sure.
All right, we need the budget. Adam, you gonna present the budget tonight? Yeah,
A little out of my area.
okay, well, you can give it a shot.
Okay, just keep pressing.
Oh, man.
Here. Oh, okay, hard to pick it up.
This is good, like, barbell.
Yeah.
You can have a notebook anyhow.
Hey, you don't have to fold it around. This is good.
I feel like I'm going back to college.
Okay, could you get that PowerPoint up?
Yes, please, if you don't mind, and I'll.
See that Distinguished Budget Presentation Award on here. First page, it looks pretty good. See,
I'm proud to be in front of you guys for the 10th year I've been here. This is number 10 of a balanced budget to this board. So let me zip right on through. So I know you guys enjoy getting that big, huge book, but I can get it down to these slides, and this is basically what's going on. I'll start with where the money comes from. Property tax rate stays the same, 54 cents. We've got about $3 million. We expect a $3 million increase, 3.5%. Your sales tax pieces, remember you've got the bigger sales tax, what we call that base sales tax. I'm looking at it growing about 900,000 to the 33.9 million total. Remember what's going on with sales tax. It's slowing down. We're going to have slides on that in just a second. And by it slowing down, your hold harmless amounts from deals eons ago with the state to trade Medicaid costs to them for articles of sales tax, it also gets be a hit that we'll end up taking. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. The other two articles, one, and remember we talked about this last week with the proposal to give schools some capital funds. You've got the 46, which is the quarter-cent option that goes to the debt to Oak Grove. Anything over that, we go to education. And then Article 44 can be used education or economic development. Got a decrease in intergovernmental revenue. These are for some DSS programs that I hope, I don't see anything that's largely going to affect the services in DSS. A lot of these are related to vendors being able to directly bill the state now as opposed to coming through us. So money does have to come to us if they're going to go to them. Less lottery proceeds. Remember we talked about this a few years ago. The county schools have paid for a portion of debt service in our budget, $16 million total. They've always historically paid for old sewer debt from early 2000s. Well, rightfully so, and I think we talked about this at the retreat. As that debt starts to fall off, they ought to get the first dibs at getting those lottery proceeds back in their bucket in Raleigh. That bucket doesn't stay on our books. It stays in Raleigh. Now, you're a joint approver of the use of those funds. Remember, we walked through the uses at the retreat. But this allows them to keep funds in that bucket there that can be used for renovations and things like that. We got increases in, things that are related to the housing market, building permits, registered deed fees. We got interest revenue that's up and above and beyond over-collect what I'm planning on budgeting. I'll show you a slide on that in a minute. You guys watch the news just like I do. The feds, they can't get to the point to where they're going to cut rates because the inflation won't go down. But at some point in time, there will be rate cuts. And when that does, we'll make less interest. And then they've got a use of general fund balance, a little bit more above and beyond what I normally would like to do, but it's to balance this budget, gets us to $6.8 million for next year. The overall increase is $4.9 million above and beyond last year's budget. And that's revenue. So we're about 175. If you look at the top, about 175 even. that first number there, property tax, well, this is what drives it, the value. So there's a nice, almost now 20-year look at what property values have done in this county. You can see the years over the far right-hand side when you see change and you see $2 billion, those are years you've had revals. But I circle at the bottom kind of where we're really zeroing in on here. So you got the adopted budget for last year, or 24, the year we're in now, at, look at 23 actual, look inside that red box. You got $18.1 billion is kind of what we actually made last year. And this is the value of the county. This is what's all the property tax, all the values in the counties are worth. You can see what we're budgeting, $16 million. And then estimated actual for this year, just shy of 19 is what we think we're going to hit. And then the proposed budget you're staring at now only moves up to 16, just over 16.5. That's an average growth of about just under 3.5% during all that time period, and that's consistent with what we're growing now. So the property tax growth is staying pretty stable. Year over year, you see the 3.6, the budget piece. You see the collections, you see the impact going from the blue to the blue bars on the left-hand side. That's your that's your impact of the 2022 reval. What's not staying stable is this sales tax. So the left-hand side is the consumer spending in the county. Take all the dollars that get spent in the county and then go to Raleigh and then they send them back to us. That's what's starting to slow down. Looking at just under 3% increase over what it was last year. We had been running double digits until just here recently. So at the back end of last year, bleeding into January, February of this year, slowdown started to come. So it goes immediately from 10 or 11% growth to screeching halt, 2.5%. And is it going to continue further is the question. And you know, if you can go from 11 to 2.5 like that, you can go from 2.5 to in the hole just like that. So we always take the cautious approach of slowdown is needing to occur. What that translates to on the right-hand side is the budget for this piece. So you see you got the actual bars, the blue bars is the base budget, the top two are the two articles, and I'm trying to spend out the articles because those go for specific things. So I don't want to have, like I had to do last week, come back to the board and say, hey, I got some overage collection. Can we spend it on capital projects? I try not to do that. I try to budget what we collect, but I'm also not going to keep it. If we got Article 46 money that comes in, we're going to be bringing it to the board and say, here, what we think we got, let's give it to the schools. But the blue bar is the one that I've tried to slow down. And so you can see, look at that $33 million dead in the center and only growing at $33.9. That's a slowdown. $900,000 out of $34 million is slowing it down. I'm slowing it down because look to the left. We made 43 last year, but you guys know we lost 3 on the hold harmless. So I ain't so sure we'll get to 40 this year. So that's called a slowdown, obviously. And if it continues and that 2.7% number slows down even more, we back up into the 30s. Well, it don't take long if you budget all that money, it's gone. And especially if you budget it for, you guys know, recurring items that are over and over and over and over and over. If you do it for capital items one time and you can live to get out of it, that's fine. But you start budgeting for positions and things like that, things change. And that hold harmless effect was $3 million loss. The 2 articles that are specific, again, if you ever want to know what we spend them on, there's 2 columns showing that. As you look to the left, you see all the economic development and school stuff. In the Article 44 is where you see the economic development. Over on the right-hand side, the 46 is all school stuff. So there's your changes in revenues on the left-hand side. Just, again, interest earnings way up because I wasn't planning on doing anything. I told you guys in March I really would like to budget nothing, but I ain't going to be able to do that. So I've had to put probably about $2 million or so of this budget onto interest. We're going to make 7 or 8. Now, I'm rolling the dice. It's not a dice roll. I'm pretty confident about it. I mean, if they're going to cut interest rates, they're not going to cut them back to what they used to be. In other words, I don't know that we're going back to the good old days of, interest rates buying houses at 3.5%. So I'm gonna say that if they cut them, they won't get back into $2 million worth, if that makes sense. But you can see from the adopted budget, look at the right-hand side, 24 to 25, only the $5 million growth. And if you basically pulled out interest earnings, it would pretty much be about flat. Where does it go? You can see the top bullet up there for spending for education. We go from $1,347 to $1,400 flat, or it's 4%. So we talked about this at the retreat. If we've got money and we think we're gonna budget for it, we'd like to protect employees' COLAs, and we'd like to put the rest toward education. The rest of the county government, lock it down till we get through this piece to where we come back on the other side. I've seen it go from 10%, drop down on sales, and then we're back at 10%. It can depend on a lot of things. The market, elections, all kinds of things can drive people's spending habits. They change very freely. That's why you see the property tax pretty much stay the same. Everybody's got to pay their property taxes. Their homes are ascending in value, but their spending habits can change just like that. Did go ahead and put $500,000 more to school capital and gotten them up to $4.8 million now, and that's divided amongst the three of them, obviously. The only positions I added were the 2 school nurses. You guys probably have not. I think you've all seen the request from the public health department from the public health board for additional school nurses. Our ratios are not that great, 22 to 2,300 to 1. This gets 2 more. The original plan was going to be 2 paid for off state dollars that Lillian has available that she can use to this, I think, to the tune of 3 to 4 years. And then 2 from the county and 2 from the schools. Since this budget took anything that had to do with county money position-wise, if I had to use a county dollar to pay for it, it did not go in. Those 2 are covered with her MOE dollars from the state. So you see where I'm going with this. That's not county dollars. Next year we may have to reevaluate this. If we can come out of this jam of this 10% or this 2% thing, then we'll go back and take a look at that plan and try to get that ratio better. Less debt service. So here's another key component of this budget. The debt service budget is down $2.2 million. What did I do with that money? I didn't take it out of the budget. If you take it out and you spend it on something else, it's gone. And when we go to borrow for the jail, no matter what we end up doing, if it's gone, then we'd have to come up with that hole. So what I did was I slid it to county contingency. It can sit there and it can accumulate. And during the year, if we have one-time capital items that come across there, we feel like we want to spend for those, that's fine. But then those funds sit there, and then next year's debt service budget goes down, and the year after that, and we get ready to borrow for the jail, I have that accumulated there, and you slide it back into debt service, just like you would do with your house. Mm-hmm. And then your payments are not going to be that big a deal. Mm-hmm. You've got them sitting here. I did remove the $1.5 million that Senator Jarvis got for us for those state-prescribed programs from last year. If you remember, there were a litany of them. And so that's gone. That's money in, money out. You don't get the money, the programs come out. And I did move some funds from the Article 44. This is kind of where we got into a conversation about this last week. Commissioner McClure had to make sure I was real clear about this. The 46 goes to schools. On the 44, I've got the option to use part of that for economic development. I have slid some of that money into a transfer and economic development reserve because your incentive payments are starting to come now. Mohawk, you know Siemens is coming, and Eggers is becoming a regular customer. And once DMP gets here, theirs will come as well. So to ensure we got money, I started sliding those funds there. I've got them for the sewer fund as well to save for a rainy day. We all may not be here the day that it comes due, but we'll need to replace the infrastructure. That's right. That's just a look at the whole budget again by function. There's your 4.9. It's 2.9% growth. And you can see the areas that it grows there as the year goes on. It's mostly education, and then you remember you've got all your employees scattered out all over all those functions. So over the years, the last couple of years, we've done some stuff with pay. So that increases as we move on, and the COLAs go on top of that. So that's why you see, per functions, you see kind of some increases in the different areas. COLAs, I remain the same, 504%. I didn't lower it, but I also didn't raise it. I just tried to maintain where I was. And if you saw what Tim sent out a couple of weeks ago from, I believe it was the league, was it Tim? NCACC? NCACC. So they did this, and I had a feeling this was going to happen, and it actually may work out to our benefit. You saw the COLA percentages slowing down. Everybody got hit with this hold harmless, but the problem is some of these jurisdictions are not in a financial position to weather it. Mm-hmm. So you saw the COLA percentages coming down now. You saw them before from PTRC going into that, we got that information late, like in April. So going into the budget process, oh, everybody's gonna do their COLAs and make the same. Coming out of April, it was, well, we can't quite do that much. We able to hold, that's gonna help us out with the pay studies and things like that. You may not have to do pay studies, because there's some catch-up going on, if we stay kind of where we are. No insurance increase, kind of just locked in, no changes with the programs. Did have an increase in the retirement again. You guys get the newsletters from the Treasury's office all the time, got to keep it solvent. Last debt service, moving into contingency, $1.2 million for education. That's divided amongst the three of them. That's how you get to the $1,400.17. That's just about 4% increase over last year's budget. Decrease in the state funds, mostly to DSS. Removes Senator Jarvis's $1.5 million in state prescribed funds. So that's how you get the big move in intergovernmental revenue, because he was $1.5 million of it. Got the 2 school nurses. And then we still maintain our ability to fund high mileage vehicle stuff. I've got stuff in there for ambulances. I've got the 20 sheriff vehicles like we've been doing here lately. I added some stuff for the P&R equipment. He's got some equipment he needs to replace that's aging out, so I was able to get that in. And then some trucks and vehicles around the county, because we're getting a little bit of an aging fleet. So I was able to stay with that. So this is just a quick look at the people. On the right-hand side, two additional positions, the 2 school nurses covered with state dollars. I bolded that out and made it real big so everybody can see. We do got, though, 46 position reclasses and in-bands adjustments, and it's mostly in them top areas. Emergency communications, public health, registered deeds, social services. So they had some changes to people's job duties and things like that where I'm aligning their pay to that. That's not a count thing change. That's not adding a position. We did add 2 public health positions in 2025. That's your school nurses. We eliminated some positions out of this budget. So we eliminated the economic development position that we had in last year, and then 6 positions out of public health that were covered with old COVID dollars. So when them COVID dollars go away, then positions go away. And then you've got 2024 additions at the bottom. Remember, we did Alton's a long, long time ago. I think it was last fall. We had a net 1 in public health, which was an environmental health position that we added, I think, last fall. And then we did the GIS position manager here recently, like I think January. So you get them all netted out, we only moved 1 position in the general fund. This is what we look like compared to other people. When you compare a number of positions we got per 1,000 people, we're still not as high as some of our competitors. There's your school funding. If you wanted to know how to break down the $1,400, if you start to the left, you've got the ADM, the operating dollars, and then their type 2 and 3 capital. The operating dollars is what's driving the per pupil number. So you divide the ADM into that number, and you get it down to the penny, and then you move over to the side. You can move over to the side, the right, where you see the change amounts, and then you see change amounts for operating and change amounts for capital. What I try to do, the per pupil is what drives, or the ADM is what drives the operating dollars. In other words, it's just math. If you say I'm going to do $1.2 million, you're divided amongst the 3 of them by 23,992 kids. Whoever's ADM drops off the most is not going to get as much funding, obviously. But the capital piece with the type 2 and 3, and that's for usually vehicles, computer equipment, furniture, things like that. I try to keep that at least the same percentage, because there's no rhyme and rule. There's no rule to say it's got to be per pupil.
Commissioner,
Yeah, go ahead.
could we, on the school situation and on the question of increasing,
Per pupil.
not per pupil.
Teacher, stipend.
Is it the stipend?
Yeah, the stipend that they get. And I don't know where it is now.
The teachers, what the lady spoke of earlier.
What they're.
For supplements?
For supplements.
We'll go back to what's gonna happen is, we don't have purpose and function, so we're not dictating to them where to put the funds, but like.
That's my question.
But
That's what I want you to talk about.
Well, that's all I can say.
Okay.
Well, I can't make them do it,
Right.
but they are gonna put it towards something. Last year, they put it toward a mandatory hourly rate change for non-exempt employees that were state employees.
Okay, so that's.
This year's $884,000 will go to the supplement to try to address that percentage that she spoke of, the difference between this one and Rowan and Davy.
Oh, okay, so they are considering that?
Yes.
Okay.
But once we give the school system that money, we have no say over what the school system does with it. at that point, is that correct?
Correct.
They can decide to add the supplement at a rate, or they can not offer. And it's not on us, it's on them.
It's on them, but it would be an unwise move not to use it for supplements, not for me
Exactly.
as well, because I will take that in consideration when I build next year's budget if it's not something we're gonna use it
Right.
for.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody listening and everybody here understands
It's their
how this
call,
works.
but to say they wanna use it for supplies or something of that nature, I don't see that. You know, you guys saw the stuff back and forth between me and the three of the superintendents about that supply stipend issue.
Right.
You know, they said, we're fine with that, we wanna go after the supplement.
Right.
And so I expect every one of that $1.1 million change over there to largely go to that.
Okay.
Especially since they had to deal with the hourly rate change last year. And they got through that, this hopefully can go to that.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to.
One quick question, when we start talking about the addition of the funds into the school system, I'm still very interested in knowing what the efficiency rate for our students versus other places are.
Like graduations and things?
I mean, you pay teachers $100,000 a year, but if efficiency rate is way down here, how are we benefited?
It's no correlation, Commissioner Shell. We did that a long time ago, and you probably don't remember, probably 2018. We took graduation rates and juxtaposed it against our per pupil rates. I don't know if you guys remember. Remember, it was a big old long sheet, and I remember there's no rhyme and reason. There's counties in this state that spend $800 a kid and graduate 98% of the class.
Yeah.
There's counties like Dare County that spend $11,000 a kid, and I'm not picking on Dare County, but or some other county that spends a lot more than we do, and they graduate, 78% or 82% or something of that nature. Ours is I think of it in the high 80s. And also remember that 1,400, one of the reasons for making that sheet, and I may have to redo it one day, it was a little bit of a pain to pull together, because the information came from a variety of places. One of the reasons for doing that is everybody looks at that 1,400 when they only pull operating per pupil. And remember this, when you're out in the grocery store and somebody pins you up about this, that is just the operating dollars. That is not what we spend per kid on debt service for schools. That is not what we spend per kid on capital for schools. When you take it all into consideration, we're not 90th anymore. Now, the last time I looked at it, we weren't in the top 20 either. I want to say we were around 60th.
58 or something.
And we all made a commitment when we saw that sheet. I'm not saying we did it formally because we didn't declare it as a resolution or a vote of this board, but I think we talked about it at the retreat one year and said, look, what we would like to do over the next few years is try to get it on the other side, maybe 50%. We could go spend our entire, $175 million budget, and I'm not sure we could get in the top 10. Because there's counties spending $12,000 a kid.
Wouldn't you agree that three school systems is a drain as to how much money we could actually appropriate toward the individual student?
It's tough in the sense of it's got some hamstrings to it because you got the different the systems are a little bit different, but you also all seen the analysis too of trying to combine them. Then you've got to come up with the maintenance of effort dollars to keep it above and beyond what you'd lose on the pennies for the two taxes. So it would be like $20 to $25 million to try to get out of having three and merge them into one, which is not a no-go proposition here for us too. So it's got its drawbacks, but it's also got major drawbacks financially to try to put them together. What you see here is kind of representative of this board. When I say a young lady spoke earlier about our commitment to this is kind of what she meant by that. The green line is the per pupil, the number, or the ADM, and as you can see, it's been trending down while the funding's been going up. Now, the funding moves up as a result of providing funds when the ADM's going down, because you're just dividing two numbers into each other. But again, it's steadily going down, losing them to charter schools and things like that. Debt service, left-hand side, blue bars is our current debt service, the orange is Oak Grove High School, and then the green is the estimate. Right now, the estimate at the $100 million number for the detention center. Whether that goes or not, I don't know. I think the jail committee has got their hands full trying to figure that out. But we gotta start planning for a number and know what the impact's gonna be. You see, you gotta ride the roller coaster up to 2027 to get to the top. That goes back to what I told you earlier about the $2 million, putting it off to the side. If I take it out and spend it, you can see it's gone. We'll have it to put right back to try to get to the top of that green bar if that's where we gotta go. We're gonna end up at the top of some green bar. So it may not be that one, but it'll be some. And so now we'll have the funds to be able to deal with it. Relatively speaking, on the right-hand side, our debt service is pretty low per head or per citizen around in the county because we don't take out a lot of debt. I know this board's talked about this a couple of times, getting through the reval, trying to stabilize through that. Maybe it's time to start looking at something for the schools, whether it be run some kind of additional debt through a bond or through some other means. We don't traditionally have a lot of debt. We haven't done that a lot. In the 10 years I've been here, we've run a couple small options. We did one for Oak Grove and then a small one for 2.5 to do HVACs and roofs, but never no full-on scale large bond program.
If just for a moment on that slide for the folks watching from home, this board has done a tremendous job keeping taxes at 54 cents. And the amount of stuff that we've added through economic development and everything like this. And now the biggest thing that I hear out in the community is this detention center. Well, if we could have built this detention center when we had planned on building this detention center, it's doubled in cost. And this is actions outside of this board where we're being held hostage with a property that we can't do anything with because the federal government owns it. It's pretty much told us, you're going to have to deal with this till we build a facility. Now, Joe Q. Public doesn't understand that. Now they're seeing $100 million for a jail when we've had to bargain with the state. And we've been who comes in and absolutely goes through our jail site and goes, well, this is old. Yeah, we've known that. We've been planning for this. The boards before I got here have been planning on it. And to come against the board that's here right now because of issues that's outside of our hands is unfortunate. But the citizens of the county are in great shape with the men and women sitting up here right now and you over the helm. Because keeping what we've got at 54 cents amazing.
Just remember, though, this is a plan. So, when you're planning, just like you do at your house, I'm sure y'all do the same thing I do. You estimate your expenses high and what you think you're going to bring in low. And you hope that I probably overshot and it's reversed, right? Do the same thing here. And so I hope that 18 million ain't real. I hope it's lower than that at some point in time, but that's maybe where we got ahead. Outside agencies, basically the net result of this is the forestry increase. All that is to say, I circled it in the right-hand side down there. The forestry increase is all that's changing in the budget because you've got a lot of stuff moving around in these things with Jarvis's money coming out. A bunch of different programs that he gave the $1.5 million to ain't getting money anymore because it was one time. So the result of that is it's the forestry increase is the change. Capital plan, real quick. So our capital plan's ballooned up nicely because I've already started to pre-plan, and that's the key word, plan, for what would this potential debt sale look like for schools in some out year away from us now. Mm-hmm. We better start getting our arms around that in the jail, like what would it look like? How big could it be? Could it be 150? Could it be 200? Or could it only be 25? What can we afford within what we're trying to do? You set the rate and you build the box and then you know exactly what you can put in it, right? So you see the top two numbers I circled is general government education. The bottom one, sewer and landfill, they develop their own funds. So whatever they generate in terms of fees is what they're going to live off of, right? So I'm not as worried about them, but the top two is the ones I want to zero in on. And the bottom one that I circled is what is called capital reserve. That's the cash that it's going to take from the county to do those things. And what are those things? And you remember, you got about 91 million remaining in the capital reserve. I think that's minus 10 because we put 10 toward the Thomasville sewer the other day. So we're back down to 81. Tim's going to come back and do more of the plan and put more of this year's overage in toward capital reserve to keep adding to that number. So we got to get to 155 to run this plan right here, essentially. Even though that doesn't add up to 155, it's because it doesn't have the jail piece on here. Like that, they didn't have the cash piece for, I think for the jail piece on here. So there's all the county projects that we kind of got in the hopper, what year, and what is it going to take to get us to that place to do it. And largely, most of this is cash funded, even though I think the sewer lines, no, the sewer lines that are not on here because these things are like the roof replacements at West Campus, server replacements in IT. And we're talking about the whole server room, basically. You got the complex that we talked about a few months ago, where we're looking at property over here off Highway 8. Went ahead and programmed that into the plan. You know, you got to have it in so you don't come up and say, well, if I wanted to do it, how would I make that happen? This is how it's going to happen. So we got to come up to the 129, and we're trying to get to this plan right here. So you've got 91 million. You've got 2024, Tim comes in and puts another 22.5. He tries to do it again next fiscal year. This is all building up to the jail. So you see what I'm saying? Gotcha. If we think the jail might go in 27 or late part of 26, we're saving to build up to that place, and the bottom set of projects there's your 155 that you got to get to. And so those are all the projects we talk about all the time. We will put a little bit of cash toward the detention facility. The rest of it will dead out. You've got Lexington middle school renovations, the ones that we're going to bid out this spring. You've got the sewer expansion in Thomasville. There's all that being paid for, largely by grants, but we had to put in some funds. You've got the potential SRU sewer expansion. So when these folks come a-calling, which I think they're going to talk to their city council in June as a potential deal, getting started with that deal, there's the funds we might need to do with that. Remember, we made a commitment to the Golden Leaf piece, to the Nucor piece, where we said that we were part of building that piece of the system to Thomasville up to this point. I added that to it. You got and I've got renovations for Lexington High School and Thomasville High School in here. They did not get the grants from DPI that they were seeking. That's right. Remember, we made a commitment. We said we would put basically $10 million toward those grant processes. Well, the way I looked at it, they didn't get the grants. We need to put the $10 million, at least put it toward those schools. They've got piping issues in both schools, probably some other stuff that they need to take care of. They're not going to be able to get a new school with that, obviously, but that gets them some place to be till we run the potential debt sale. I've got the Davidson County School admin building renovation, dollars programmed in. That's part of the plan. I hope that thing bids out at what we think it's going to be, but there's the dollars to do it. And then you've got the high school renovations up here at Lexington. So you see the hashes at the bottom because it's a funded plan, because if we can get to the $55 million in cash, combined with the $37 million in grants we already got from the state, combined with a little bit of that Article 46 money we've collected in years past, and then we have to take out some debt, all them projects get done. And that debt corresponds to that green bar you just saw. You got to get to 18 million. You got to ride the roller coaster up and come back down. Can all that be done on 54 cents is the question. I think it can. I think it can if we're diligent with it and get through one more reval. That's the trick. We're going to have to get through another reval as well in between all that time. So there's your state recommendation for fund balance, 16, county policies, 18. It's been that way since I've been here. 51% in 2022, 77 in 23. Remember, we talked about this as a retreat when y'all got the CAFR, because Mayor Hayes was here and I didn't want him walking out of the room thinking we were at 77. We were really at 59 because part of that was Biden money that fell to fund balance. Mm-hmm. We pulled it out, and that's how you got the 90 million in CAFR reserve. So we're really at about 59. What we'd like to do in the next 5 years, I kind of just threw out some goals, some big high-level 30,000-foot goals. At least stay at 54 cents or less. I say less because of the potential property reval. And I'm going to show you something in just a second with some other jurisdictions. It may go down. I'm not going to say whether it will go down or up, but it may go down. Mm-hmm. But I at least want to maintain the tax rate, generating the same amount of dollars that I'm making now.
That's right.
If that makes sense.
Revenue neutral.
Revenue neutral. We may have to go to revenue neutral at that time. Our general fund reserve policy, I'd like to see it stay in that 30 to 50% range or better. You know, we're hanging in there at the 59. I'd love to see it continue to grow. It may dip down slightly at times over the next couple of years just to get through some of this stuff. Let's just call it that. Weather the storm.
That's right.
And that's why we had the fund balance. That's why we built it up, so we could get through some of these places, especially when we know that place is just temporary. We're trying to overcome a hill to get back down into a valley.
Right.
If you're going up a hill and you're just going like this, like a roller coaster, and it's never going to go, or it's never going down, that's probably a problem. But we know we're going to be able to weather through it. Continue with the employee pay increases and the school dollars.
Amen.
You know, the school dollars keep that per pupil number trying to move. As the chairman, he remembered that too, that from a long time ago. I don't even remember when we talked about that, but get to that 50%, but keep these COLAs going so that way, remember, it'll save us from having to do pay studies potentially later, especially if every other jurisdiction cannot keep up with the COLAs as they have been over the last couple of years, which is partly what I feared some of these jurisdictions would be doing, was taking all these COVID dollars and all these ARAP dollars and putting them toward COLAs. We didn't do that. And so now they're going to have to pay the price because they have to figure out how to come up with county dollars to put in that place.
That's right, yeah.
We did pay studies, and I'm going to show y'all this in just a sec. Y'all did pay studies. Don't think you didn't do some pay. You just didn't do it with those dollars.
Yeah.
You did it with your dollars. There's your tax rate amongst jurisdictions. Now, we used to be green bar at the bottom. You can see three moved in front of us, Randolph, Alamance. That's because they did revals. So when they did revals, Catawba went down to 39 cents. Alamance to 43, and Randolph actually did the reval, but then added some pennies to it for some things. So they're at 50. Even with three jurisdictions doing revals, we're still the fourth best on the list.
So Rowan done a reval too, right?
Yeah, right, and didn't get down to our level after the reval.
That's huge.
So that's just amazing to me that to hang at 54 cents for now going on the 17th year when three jurisdictions still did revals in the process. This is convoluted, but just hang with me because I did this for a reason. And I tried to circle the areas so I don't even get confused with what I'm trying to say. I said 10 years, that this is the 10th one I've given you all. So I started thinking about it, like retrospectively. Well, what have we done in 10 years as far as, have we actually increased county government that much? Well, so look over to your right-hand side. I tried to put 10 years ago, 2016, well, it ain't exactly 10, in 2025. That's what the general fund budget was 10 years ago, and that's what it is now. It's a big increase, $47 million. The average is 5.2. So the average is 4%. There were years in there where we had borrowing for Oak Grove High School. There were years in there where we had $3.5 million for pay studies for folks that had worked here for long. You know, so remember that. 4% is the average. There were years it was less than 4, and there may have been some that was more than 4. Personnel, you can see, has grown from 48 to 81. That's a change of $33 million, 69% total. That's 8% on average. I like the far right-hand one best because it's that average per year. FTEs have grown about 2% since that time, per year. Some more some years, some less some. Like this year, 1, right? But school operating, look at that, per pupil in Type 2, Type 3 capital. So there you can see we went from 35 to 41, that's 17%. That's about 2% on average. That used to be, Commissioner Shores has asked me this, I know a half a dozen times, and I made this partly thinking of you. In the past, we probably didn't move very much on per pupil. We've done better in the last couple of years, more than we have in the past. That's why it's only been 2. You know what I mean? If we were to continue funding at $1.2 million for 10 years, it'd be way more than 2%. But there have been past years where we did 1.5%, especially when I first got here. School capital, look at that number. So on average per year, 9% growth. Personnel and school dollars together, 5%. And the percentage of those things as a total percentage of our general fund budget has gone from 67 to 73%. So school and county employees have increased from 67 to 73% of your budget over that period of time. Look at the bottom piece. The remaining pieces of county government have grown in 10 years 14%, or $632,000 average per year. So county government don't even move $500,000 a year on average. The rest of county government. Basically what I'm saying is if you take personnel and school out of the equation, the rest of county government moves 2% a year. So if anybody ever asks you, does county government grow? I mean, it does slightly, but I'd say that qualifies as pretty much holding it in the road.
We got an increased population.
Right, right. And we've done some things. You guys have done stuff since I've been here. One of the biggest accomplishments is the amenities.
Yeah.
You guys have built parks, and you've done stuff with like splash pads. I remember when those splash pads went in. I don't know if Commissioner Walker was here. I know you two were. We put them in. Remember the night we was in here talking about them? What were they, about $100,000 a piece, $125,000? We didn't have a clue who was going to use them. The first weekend they go in, I mean, it's full. Denton's full, and Tyro's full.
Southmont.
And Southmont. So we're sitting there going, people have been waiting on this stuff. And we go down and build the park down at the river, here we go. You know what I mean? So you've done some things that's what you spent those monies on. So be proud of that. And you did it all on 54 cents. The rest of the funds, and I'll stop. Sewer, we're looking at maybe 6% from the city of Winston. I did add a position in that one, but reduced a part-time position to help with those 811 tickets and all the mowing and stuff that's going on. We're adding more stuff to our sewer infrastructure, so that basically paid for it by taking part-time out. Transportation, I'm going to replace some buses with grant funds. I got 4 rural fire districts wanting to go up: Healing Springs, Pilot, Reeds, and Clemens. They all met the requirements. They turned in an audit. They told me the reasons why, and the reasons are in your book there. And they're going to have either had or going to have their public meeting to tell their district what they're about to do. Landfill, we got some equipment replacing in that one as well. Insurance, basically pretty much flat, actually decreased just slightly. School capital, you know about that one, up a little bit to make sure they stay with those roofs and HVACs. Mental health stays the same. We just switched providers. We went from Sand Hills to Partners. Garage, I got the first rate change. This isn't my fault, probably. Hadn't had a rate change in about 9 years. And so I had to adjust the rates to make sure. That's again my fault for not doing that. The garage can't operate on the same internal rates from customers in the county as it was 10 years ago.
Amen.
So I fixed that. Opioid settlement, sorry. We expect to get to a certain dollar amount out of that $22.5 million. So this budget's to get to that dollar amount, and the committee will continue to go through their options. We got the Vivitrol through, Commissioner Shell, while you were gone, and working through getting that done, but now I'm assuming we'll move on to the next thing. 911, we got some of the money back notified from the state. Remember, a couple of years they cut us because we had used too much. They ain't going to give some of it back now, so thank goodness for that. Davidson Works no longer exists. Remember, it went to PTRC. The school districts, same tax rate. It gets more money. I lagged on behind on that one as well. We pay them what we receive. It's kind of like the fire departments. Mm-hmm. And the airport fund maintains the same level of county money paid for with that Article 44 because I consider that economic development. But it maintains the same level of funding. Next steps, public hearing on the 28th of May in this room, 6 o'clock. And then we'll have the workshop on the 6th at 8 a.m. in this room, and then hopefully we'll get to a place on the 10th where you guys feel good about adopting something in this room at 8 o'clock. Sorry for belaboring that one. I just wanted to go through a little bit more detail. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time.
Good job.
You put that schedule back up, Debbie, or that when we're hearing the...
Could you email that to us?
It's that last page he was on.
Yeah.
End of May.
There it is.
Wow. Went away again. There it is. All right. Any questions by the board?
No, sir.
All right. Hearing none, we're going into closed session. Can I have a motion to go in?
Motion to go into closed session. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Second, you got a second out, somebody? Second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, Mr. Attorney, would you give an update, please?
Yes, the commission discussed, matters relating to possible acquisition of real property and a matter relating to potential litigation.
Thank you for the update. Any further business by the board? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night, thank you.
Good night.